Hey everyone, thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin. If you guys like this content, please subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on, and check out the Telegram, Discord, and Twitter channels in the description below. So today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin daily price change. So essentially, if you took calculus, we're just taking the time derivative of the price. So we're looking at daily price changes and looking at those changes since inception of Bitcoin. So back in 2010, the daily change in the price was quite small. I mean, you can see it varied from as low as 10 to the minus 3, which is 0.001, up to around 1 cent. And actually, there were days where it went lower than this. But I'm just cutting it off at 10 to the minus 3, just so we can focus in on the majority of the price movements for the last several years. But one of the things you notice is that we're typically we're the daily price movement has been increasing over time. Now, this doesn't actually mean that it's getting more volatile, obviously, because that's all based on percentages of what the price is at that time. But it's interesting to see. I mean, it makes identifying these peaks. You can see where the peaks occurred in the price of Bitcoin before they saw these bear markets. It highlights those fairly well. I can draw some imaginary lines on here that don't mean anything and are just meant to guide the eye as to the general trend. But clearly, we can go above this line. We can go below this line. But most of the daily price change in Bitcoin is within this channel. And I should say that this is the absolute value of the daily price change. So it could be going up by, say, $10 or down by $10. It's just the magnitude of the price movement. So it's interesting, though, that the top here, each time that we've peaked, we've more or less come to around this line here. So maybe that could be yet another indicator that we'll put in our toolbox for determining, times to really start getting out of the market. Now we can say, well, what might happen in the coming years? Again, if you prescribe to this theory that we're going to be seeing six-figure Bitcoin in the next, say, 2 or 3 years. Then you might imagine something like this, where we continue to ride this the bottom of this channel for a bit longer, because we haven't really been there that long, and then ultimately come back up and then peak where we would then see $10,000 price moves in a day. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because I made a recent video on daily, or I made a recent video on Bitcoin, and I was talking about daily price moves, and potentially in the next market cycle we'll see these 10,000 moves a day. And there was actually one of the Telegram members in my Telegram channel. I think his name's Nunya Business, I think, but he posted a chart that was showing the first time that we reached various milestones based on what I had suggested, and I thought it was a good idea. So I just decided to explore it a little bit further. So I have this video coming out, and then I'll have another video coming out tomorrow that even dives in further. But I like to show this because it does show this time derivative of the price, and you can see the macroscopic picture. It's nice because when you zoom out, it makes things a lot clearer. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about Fibonacci retracements. You're not looking at any type of confluence between, say, 2 or 3 different indicators. You're not looking at moving averages. You're not looking at fib circles. You're not looking at any other technical indicators like the RSI or EMAs. It just is it's one of these things where when you zoom out, it gives you a better appreciation for Bitcoin. And one of the reasons I really like this is because my undergrad was in math, and I really like looking at patterns and obviously noting that past performance does not mean that the future has to go in a specific way. But it's nice to be able to potentially use this to inform future decisions. And if it turns out that this is not the case, then so be it. It's the risks that we take for being in the market. But if we continue on, I just wanted to try to highlight something else here. So I'm going to move my video up here. So here's the same graph, and everything's the same, but I'm just color coding this, which is just the price. So you might be wondering, well, why are you just color coding it? Because it'll just, it just goes up. I think this is visually more appealing to present it this way, because you can really see shifts from different levels of magnitude just quickly with your eyes without having to look at the actual scale over here, which note is a logarithmic scale. And here's this general uptrend channel that we're in. Note that the current peak here is, it's around say $2,000 or $3,000 a day that occurred at the end of 2017, but that if we were to reach say $10,000 in a day, then this no longer would be dark red, because then $10,000 a day would be dark red and all the colors would shift. But that's not really the point. I mean, notwithstanding that, you can still see the general changes in levels of Bitcoin daily price changes. So again, like for instance, here's one example. In the first market cycle, we peaked at daily price changes between say $1 and $4 or $5. In the next market cycle, the average price change, and obviously this is not an exact average, but you can see that this is where the meat of a lot of price changes occurred. So that the average was more or less, in this region of $1 to $5. And in this last market cycle, it's the lowest. It's kind of the lower bound. So we went from upper bound to average to lower bound. Okay, and clearly this isn't an exact science, because I mean this is only looking at daily data. So it's possible that, let's say Bitcoin was at $8,000, it went to $9,000, but then it closed at $8,001. That would just register as a $1 price change during that day. So you have to accept that there is some, you're not capturing everything, but if you understand that's what it is, then we can at least appreciate what the data tells us. So again, first market cycle, this was the peak in in daily volatility. Then it became the average during the next market cycle, and then it became the low during the next market cycle. So again, here we're looking at a peak of around say $50 to $110 in one day, and you can see that was in 2014, and this peak became this average or median value, which maybe begs the question that will this end up being the lower bound for a future market cycle, maybe in the future, then seeing $50 to $110 price movements in a day will be the lower bound. And it makes sense, because as the price of Bitcoin increases, then the percentage change the percentage change is ultimately what you care about, because if it's moving by say $10 a day over here, then the percentage change is astronomical. But if it's moving by $10 a day when the price is say $15,000, then that's a very small percentage. So think about it in terms of percentage, but this is just kind of preparing you for what might be coming. We've seen volatility of upwards of $10 a day during this first market cycle. We saw it upwards of $100 a day during the second, over $1,000 a day during the third. Maybe we'll see daily volatility of $10,000 a day during the fourth, which would ultimately help us get to that six-figure mark. So then, if this is if this this peak becomes this average or median, which becomes this low, then you could argue maybe, okay, well, maybe this peak over here of around $1,000 to $2,000 a day, maybe during the next market cycle, that will be the average or the median. So if the price of Bitcoin is $50,000 or $60,000, then $1,000 to $2,000 movements in a day doesn't seem like that much, and it wouldn't be if you're at that time if you're purchasing Bitcoin. But think about that now. I mean, think about the price of Bitcoin now, where it is. It's at around $8,000, maybe a little bit higher than that. So it's around $8,000. And you know, if Bitcoin were to move by $2,000 in a day at this point, I mean, that'd be a 25% move. So it does go to show the time value of investing, because not that this is financial advice, because there's always that chance that Bitcoin does not take this path. But if it continues the trend that it has in the past, and it were to say go to say a six-figure Bitcoin in the next 2 to 3 years, and then retraced back down to say 30 to 40, maybe $50,000, then, you know, accumulating that Bitcoin now could be a really good thing. And I mean, ultimately, I wouldn't suggest holding that Bitcoin through a bubble. I would say if there is a speculative bubble, then you should sell at that point. At least dollar cost average your sells. That's what I would do, anyways. You can do whatever suits your own risk tolerance. But you know, I hope this elucidates kind of some of the daily volatility in terms of the total dollar value. And again, this is not the percent. So the percent, I looked at the percent, and it doesn't really change. It hasn't really changed a whole lot. I mean, you can see that. I mean, you can briefly see it here. I didn't put it in this presentation. Maybe I'll make another video and go over percent changes. But the percent change does not see huge changes, especially at the average daily volatility from one cycle to another. So consider that. Just, you know, put in the back of your mind, though, that, you know, it's possible that we might be seeing, you know, $10,000 price movements in Bitcoin in a single day if, and that's a big if, the trend continues. So I hope you guys like this video. If you want to you know, check out more and discuss these charts again, join the Telegram in the description below. And I do have a Patreon channel, which is patreon.com/IntoTheCryptoverse, where you'll get access to a patron-only chat room and patron-only updates, like risk updates. And if you guys want other updates, I can give those. And then also subscriptions to like reports that I make, like Bitcoin Letters, which is a 21-page report that goes into a lot of these different, you know, unique metrics. So I think that'll wrap it up for this video. I will see you guys next time. Bye.